they should truly be ashamed of what they are proposing, if we're being frank. Then there's also the issue of, I think, no, that one I won't touch on it now, I'll touch on it later. But I'll go on to the second one, the extension of the terms, and why the actual extension, not simply the indirect election, but the actual extension of the terms, why there is an interest in the extension of the terms. Like, we've mentioned that we deliver Zimbabwean dream, and how that is upset to say, and it also speaks to ZANU-PF promoting within this the people of Zimbabwe the idea that the only way that you can further your nation is if you're holding office number one, which is not true. If he is such a revolutionary and such an idealist, why don't they keep him within their own structures and he continues to influence the philosophy and the ideologies of ZANU-PF? Then whoever they then have at the top can enact them, because it doesn't matter how good idea. So if they believe that he is that good, they can just have him in his reservoir, part of the Politburo, or they can do what the African nations have done through the Council of Elders, retired presidents, retired officials and executives that have done outstanding work, put them there, let them contribute to solving our problems. Why does he need to maintain the office? And it becomes an issue of ego, like what my brother Anodiwa was talking about. It's now merely holding the office for the prestige of it, for the appearance of it. Right? Yeah, I did get a bit, heated up with that one, but I think I wanted to just touch on this one, then I come to you, Tapio, which is the extension of the term itself. Right? People might look at it as simply an issue of saying, okay, he just wants 5 more years. And he wants it to be effected now, and it's going to benefit all the other applicants. He's just greedy for time. And then people would walk away and say it's just a matter of being greedy for time. But I'll tell you that there are other things that are underlying the extension of the term that are very dangerous. The extension of the term is not about Mnangagwa just wanting 2 years. 2 years is nothing, right? Especially for a guy who has had 45 years. But the extension of the term is a way to consolidate power and to increase the chances of further mutilating the constitution and to maintain his presence in office beyond 2030. By adding time to the term, what he is essentially doing, and what those that support him are essentially doing, is weighing out the will of the rivals, those that we call opposition, within his party and outside the party. Because spending too much time, so your will be grinded down. You have other things that come up during that period that will require your attention. It is expensive to keep up that momentum also. Time will also allow the voters to get used to the idea that, oh, these guys can rule for long and maybe they should continue. It makes sure that the voters also forget about the people that lost an election fairly, that are opponents, people that lost an election or lost their positions because of the Chabangu debacle, and people that were cheated outright in the election. The voter will forget that if we extend time or become less concerned about it, which then increases the likelihood of the current occupants of government to be the ones that also win in 2030 if Bill 3 is allowed to go through. And I think it's not a secret who these guys would then vote for to become president, or who these guys would then effect, what these guys would then effect into the constitution, So the extension of the term is to make sure that the will of the people is grinded down. It grinds down rivals who are in opposition political parties, or opposition from moral standpoints, opposition from the international. They'll all be they'll lose their will because of the time. Same thing with the water, that will happen. Then it also normalizes the status quo. People after time will get used to the idea that these guys can do this and they can get away with it. Then it gives the incumbent the advantage next cycle. It gives the current MPs the advantage next cycle. It gives them so much time to engage in patronage, which has been the status quo in Zimbabwe, right? So it's this portion to me is beyond what people are simply seeing. But well, greedy guy who simply wants 2 more years and is willing to give everyone else of the 400 2 more years so that he can get 2 more years. No, this is a guy who accidentally, under his rule, had a pamphlet circulating saying it wants to celebrate Munu Mutapa rule, Munu Mutapa birthday. This is a guy who's terming everything Munu Mutapa. He's not a guy who's out to set up a term that ends. He's a guy who is out to set up a monarch. And he's not shy about it. Hakuna government inoita accident yekusekuleta pamphlet rekuti king tadini ini ndiri president. Musanyefero, guys. All right, I'll pause there. Yeah, and let the other folks step in. Tapio, I see your hand is up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, that's profound. But I mean, problem and beauty. I think our society impunity no my politicians like the store on a taxi driver. It's very true. So I don't know a taxi driver. He can be a pain, but sometimes he speaks the truth about our politicians. When the politicians become the king makers, the pastors, the soldiers, you know, everything, the center of power becomes the politician. I think that's wrong for any society because, for example, politicians are voted in and voted out, and they are changed for the same reasons as diapers because the diapers become full of shit, so you have to change them. You still need a new shit. So the the problem is we don't have an underworld in Zimbabwe. The people who are supposed to be doing crime to be arrested by politicians are the politicians themselves. If you look at societies across the world, even in London, there is an underworld in London. Go to Liverpool. If you go to New York, there is a lobby, the IPA, and so forth. They're kingmakers, people with a lot of money. Who can actually influence the direction of society without the inefficiencies of democracy and choosing people through the ballot. People who can influence the stock exchange, people who can influence how to be immune from sanctions because they're so interconnected with the rest of the criminal world that a politician will not breathe. A politician cannot come and say, I mean, that should not be the case. Politicians should be frightened of society. Why are they not scared? We need an underworld. We need criminals, proper dangerous criminals, but not, of course, not the Silanoa level whereby they got more weapons than the army. But we need people who basically can be bruisers. If society feels shortchanged by politicians, they have to appeal somewhere. Like South Africa. In South Africa, they just called the taxi people. So this politician is now full of shit. Yeah, he has to go. He goes. Because what a politician aenda zvaanoda kusvika mamadhonga mera nyanga ndozvainotaura. No. I think that we need to put some frights in them. Society should be able to put. I'm not advocating for criminality, of course, but I'm advocating for a society that's being peed on by people all the time. They have to be frightened to make certain decisions. Kwete kuswera vajaira, they have to be frightened. Maybe kutsatodya mumahotera vachapoisonwa. I think they need that. Otherwise vanoramba vachizviitisa. Thank you.